Okay, great. So now that we've got our game manager going and it's hooked in, we're ready to start building out our store so we can now have multiple stores, all of them going at the same time. And it's really going to, pretty quickly here, make the game a lot more interesting and fun to play. There is one thing that we noticed that we commented out last time inside of our store script. So I'm just double clicking on store here to bring up our store script. We commented out here the part where we check for the current balance. So we're going to see how we can do that and with interacting with our game manager. So there's and this is just, sometimes this will happen where you'll get that line endings are not consistent between windows and other things, and it'll just prompt you to normalize. Just hit yes to that. But we can add the balance, but because this is private, current balance is private, here we don't have a public in front of it, there's no way to get to it. So one of the things we can do just real quickly, and it's a real simple fix, is just hit public, make current balance public, come over here and say if the base store cost is less than game manager dot current balance. And so now, because we have that reference here and we made it public here, we can just reference it and check before we purchase. So let's try it out. Run it here. Buy. And now we can't buy anymore. We can't go any less. So we fixed it. It was that easy. I could have put it in the last lecture. It was running long. But I wanted to point out that this is probably not the best design. This works, and when you're in a pinch and you're making simple games and you're learning, it's perfectly fine. But why is this not necessarily the best design? It's because part of the point is that game manager should be taking care of current balance. We shouldn't make it public. We should have a better interface for returning and talking with store. So one example might be to do this is to actually let the game manager determine if there is enough money or not to buy something or to do a certain operation, and just tell the store whether or not there is enough or not enough. So this is going to be a chance for us to see it maybe a little bit better design, but also also to show you some other ways that you can use C# to return a value. Because right now we've always been using voids. Let's see how we can make our game manager a little smarter, a little better design, but also learn a little bit about return of values. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a public bool, meaning we're going to return back a true or false, and we're going to say can buy, but meaning, do we have enough money to buy this or not? Can we buy? And so we're going to send along an amount again, and this is going to be the amount to buy, amount to spend, we'll say. So that it's maybe I'll capitalize it here just so it's a little easier to read. Amount to spend, and we'll go ahead and end our method here with our opening and closing braces. And let's see, why is this? Oh, this is turning red because we're not returning back a value. We need to return back something. So it knows when it sees this bool that we need to return back a true or a false. So how do we check that? And I'm not doing a formal exercise on this, but if you're a more advanced programmer or you feel like you're really wanting to be ambitious, why don't you pause the video for a second and see if you can figure out what you need to write in this formula to determine if you should buy or not. Just the simple if statement. Okay. Well, if you paused or didn't pause the video, I'm going to go ahead and show it. But we basically want to check if the amount to spend is greater than our current balance. So it's real simple math here. If the amount to spend is greater than our current balance, we need to return a false. Because we don't have we don't have enough. In other words, we don't have the money. The amount we want to spend is greater than what we currently have, so we'll say we can't buy it. And if I do an else here, I can return a true. So this is a chance for you to see how this works. And now, you know, how you can basically return a value. Now notice also down here, current balance is inaccessible due to its protection level. Because we've made this private, if we go back here and look at store, we're getting an error here. And it's telling you it's because it's protected. We don't want the store to access the current balance directly and look at that value directly. Instead, we want to say if game manager dot can buy, and then just pass along the base store cost. So if well, actually in this case, if not, and we need a parenthesis, we do need parentheses around these. That's why it's giving us that. Didn't like that. Game manager does not exist in the current context, so that's just incorrect. Okay, I don't know why the editor was telling me it didn't exist, but what I'm saying is if the can buy returns a false, and that's why this is there. So we're getting a little more advanced there. I could have set it up so this would say you can't buy, and then you'd return a true if you couldn't buy. But I decided to say if the amount to spend is greater than the current balance, we're going to return back a false. And if we turn back a false, in this case, we want to get out of it and not buy any more stores. So let's save that. And let's save this. And so we've just added this one simple method, and we've privatized this. So we're protecting it. And this is just a good design strategy a lot of times, is that you want to decouple your internal variables, in this case current balance, so that only the game manager really has access to this. And you're asking the game manager, can I buy it? And because maybe there's another factor that the game manager has that you decide later. For example, that under a certain condition, maybe there's another factor in the game that you add. You decide you don't want people to be able to buy stores. Well, now you can override this so that they can't buy something regardless of whether they have the money to spend or not. You could add additional conditions in here, additional reasons why they might not be able to buy at the game level. Maybe they have enough money to buy, but because an opponent, if you decide to make it multiplayer, for example, has decided that they've for 30 seconds they can't buy any more stores, or because of some penalty they can't buy any stores, you can override that at the game level. And that's an example of why you would want to have, rather than checking the money here, ask the game manager, can I buy it? And, well, here's the cost. And maybe later we'd extend it to other conditions as well. So let's save it and run it. And we'll buy our store, buy a store, buy a store, buy a store. And now we can't buy any more stores. You can click to start our timer. And we'll make our $2.50 for 5 stores at 50 cents each. And now we can buy more stores. But we run out. So in the last couple lectures, we really didn't improve our game. In other words, we didn't add more bells and whistles. We didn't improve gameplay, but we refactored it. We've made it so now it'll be easier to extend it. And now we can see in the next lecture how we can have multiple stores within our game.